What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, across the entire, social media platforms, I have seen a lot of now trade interest starting to pick up for the Chicago Bulls. Now, that could be because now the majority of the league, I believe, could be traded at this point in time, or maybe that period is happening very soon, so therefore more players are now in the conversation. And Zach LaVine has been a big part of that. Apparently, there are recent reports suggesting that the Denver Nuggets are seriously looking at Zach LaVine as a potential trade acquisition, and of course, there will have to be a couple of pieces thrown our way in order to make that happen. With that being said, let's talk about it, whether or not it's the right move to do or not in this video. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls. And whether or not you think Denver are seriously considering Zach LaVine, and do you think they'll give us a good trade in return in order to get Zach LaVine? Now, I'm pretty sure Zach LaVine's contract is pretty hefty, as I'm sure all of you guys are too. And Denver, I think they're going to have to give up a couple of guys in order just to match Zach LaVine's contract nonetheless. One of the guys that was very rumored was Michael Porter Jr. If you guys don't know Michael Porter Jr., before he came into the league, I'm pretty sure he was a Chicago Bulls fan. He was wearing Chicago Bulls merchandise throughout the entirety of the time that he was kind of, in the media and whatnot. Everybody was having a big talk about him. We were one of the teams that were very interested in selecting him, but we actually went away from that to pick Wendell Carter Jr. on the trade night. Turned out that wasn't the right choice. Nonetheless, I'm pretty sure I've even said in the past, one day, I truly believe in my heart, Michael Porter Jr. will be a Chicago Bulls player. There's no shame in me saying that. Whether or not it will ever happen or not, that remains to be seen. But I also remember that when I talked about this 3 years ago, maybe it was even 4 years ago, I'm not entirely sure. That was one of my most viewed videos, but also one of my most disliked videos, because there were a lot of Denver fans that were coming in and saying that this just will never ever happen, and that they will never get Zach LaVine, and they'll never trade Michael Porter Jr. And you guys can go back and take a look at the video. Maybe there's something there that could be referred to in this specific video. But that's 3 years ago. Maybe they had a valid point now. Have times changed since then? Well, firstly, let's start off by saying Denver are a team right now, a good team, but probably not the team that they were a couple of years ago. That's how I feel about the Denver Nuggets. They still got the MVP caliber Nikola Jokic. They still got a good team around them. The team, in my opinion, has been underperforming for the most part. We'll take a look at their season record, because maybe I'm just talking complete nonsense here, but at least that's how I felt about Denver currently. When I look at the best teams in the East, in the Western Conference right now, not a lot of people are talking about the Denver Nuggets. Right now, they're 6th in the Western Conference. To be fair, the West is much more competitive than the East, so that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. They've got 14 wins and 11 losses on their season, so very close to each other in terms of the record of being close to 500. They're not the championship team that we've come to know from them. So maybe they do need to make a trade. Maybe they do need to make big things happen. Maybe they do need to get rid of a big player in order to get a big player in return. And there's a lot of interesting stuff there. So I think without further ado, let's get started in that regard. So let's just say hypothetically the Bulls do make a trade with Denver, and Michael Porter Jr. is involved in that trade. I know there'll be other guys that are in there as well, but for the most part, I'm just going to talk about Michael Porter Jr. because he's obviously the key asset that you'd be getting in return for Zach LaVine. Let's just say that does happen, right? Michael Porter Jr. is a little bit younger than Zach LaVine, first and foremost, making a good amount of money. Is also a player that loves to shoot the ball. He's a very good catch-and-shoot player. He's also very good at creating his own shot. He's somewhat efficient as well, for the most part. But a lot of people criticize that he takes too many shots. And a lot of people criticize that he doesn't take the right shots. And a lot of people criticize the fact that he's not necessarily the most team-impactful player that you'll ever see out there. That's a lot of the criticisms that you get with Michael Porter Jr. Now, with that being said, is there still time for, I guess, him to kind of change the way that he plays and adapt his game and become more of a team-based player in the NBA? Well, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily think things are going to change dramatically. Let's just say if he was on the Chicago Bulls, I would expect more of the same with Michael Porter Jr., in all honesty. I think it's as simple as that. He's not the best defender either, but again, I think he's a little bit taller than Zach LaVine at 6'10", so that could be very valuable to us. He averages 18.4 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, and 2.8 assists. Efficiency-wise, for the Denver Nuggets, we could take a look at this here. He's shooting 38% from 3. He's overall shooting 60% from 2-point range as well. So he's been somewhat efficient in his season for the Denver Nuggets as well. So you're getting a very good offensive player in return for a very good offensive player. But again, a lot of people do question his ability to be a good teammate. With Zach LaVine, is there a little bit of the same thing going on there? Well, Zach LaVine, I believe, is averaging around 22, 23 points per game, doing it very efficiently. I think he's still in the 50% from the field range, 40% from the three-point range. I don't know what his free throw percentage is looking like, but he's very close to the 50, 40, 90 club. I think that's what it's called. So, yeah, he's very close to that range. He's been one of the most efficient guards in the league, but he also averages 4 assists. So what I'm coming here to tell you is Zach LaVine is more of a team player than Michael Porter Jr. Don't hate me for it. I'm just telling you the way that I see it. And you know what? That's okay. The reason why it's okay is because Denver have a team where Nikola Jokic runs the system. And if it's not Nikola Jokic, it's Jamal Murray. They've got a foundation of playmakers and team guys already there, where Michael Porter Jr. doesn't need to be a team player or doesn't need to be the number one team player on that team. The Bulls don't have that. The Bulls have Nikola Vucevic, who's a team player. They've got a couple of point guards now that can facilitate. But Zach LaVine sometimes has to be able to step back in order to let the other guys shine, because that's the team that we are at the moment. We don't have an MVP caliber Nikola Jokic. We don't have, I guess, guys that can kind of take over in the facilitating way, especially from the big man position. So Michael Porter Jr. can kind of do what he wants on that team. Maybe he can come in to this Bulls team and be more of that team player, facilitate a little bit more, get his teammates more involved in the game. Maybe he can be that type of guy, but I don't personally see that. But with his young, I guess, younger age, a little bit more to him, maybe in the catch and shoot, maybe off the ball, he could do a little bit more. There's a lot to like about a Michael Porter Jr. Would Denver do this, though? Realistically, would Denver do this? I don't know what I said 4 years ago. I think I said I'd love to see the trade happen, to be honest. I can't remember, though. I still don't think this trade will happen now. I don't think this trade will happen now. The reason why, I think Zach LaVine can do a little bit more for Denver than maybe a Michael Porter Jr. can. But I think when Denver are healthy, Michael Porter Jr. fits them better, because they need a guy that can shoot the ball and be very gifted offensively and can do a little bit more off the ball. I think they need more of that than another ball handler on the team. When everybody's healthy, they've got quite a few ball handlers. They don't need to add another one to the fray. That's the first thing. The second thing, people want to often say, well, the reason why you want to get rid of a guy like Michael Porter Jr. is because he's injury prone. Look, I love Zach LaVine, but if he's not the definition of injury prone, I don't know what is. He's always injured. And this season, he's been very healthy. I'm very thankful for that. He's balled out, and I've enjoyed it, and I very much love that. But I don't see that happening as well, because Zach LaVine is injury prone. So if you're going to make the excuse for Michael Porter Jr., you also have to make that excuse for Zach LaVine. So I don't think it makes sense in that regard as well. Number 3, as much as Michael Porter Jr. is a younger age and could probably maybe in the long run be better than what Zach LaVine is even now, and I believe that can happen, I think in our direction, where I want to go personally, we need to go younger and we need draft capital. Denver don't have much draft capital. It's like doing a trade with the Lakers. You're going to get a 2029 or whatever the year is first round pick. Do you really want to wait that long for a first round pick? I personally don't want to see that happen. With Denver, it's going to be a very similar situation. You're not going to get a first round pick for Zach LaVine most likely. And if you do, it's going to be very, very far away in the future. So when does that rebuild start to happen if you do that Zach LaVine trade? I guess if you're thinking the Bulls don't need a rebuild, and heck, Michael Porter Jr. might be the answer to all of our problems, then yes, I would probably consider really doing this deal if Denver are highly interested in it. Not to mention, we'll probably get a couple of other players in return that you can maybe dish off and trade off in the future. You might be able to get a first round pick down the line. I don't know. Maybe that's the deal you go down. But if you're thinking this team needs a rebuild, with all due respect, I don't think Michael Porter Jr. is the right answer for that rebuild. because I don't think we get dramatically worse with Michael Porter Jr. on the team. We may not get much better either, but I don't think he's the answer that we're looking for. That's what I think. That is by no means to say he's a bad player. I think he's an excellent player. And one day he might play for the Bulls. I really don't know. I've said that in the past. I just don't think this is the time. And I don't think Denver are actually that interested, personally. What do you think? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. And peace.